Hey y'all, welcome back to Harmon Homestead. I'm actually standing out here in the chicken yard today and in the backyard, and I was going to do a chicken scratch talk time with you, so bear with me. It stormed here this afternoon and everything's wet, and I said, well, I don't want to do this inside. It's such a pretty afternoon now outside, so I just wanted to stand up and talk to you. So it's very humid here. We're supposed to have bad weather tonight, so hopefully that will not occur, but if it does, then we're prepared for the best. We are getting ready to plant next week, hopefully. We might wait another week or two, but I've been rushing this pretty much. I think everyone does. You just wait and wait and wait to plant and get everything in the ground. If you really do enjoy this, then there's nothing more exciting, as you know. And I thought maybe that's what I need to talk about today, that things take time, and like the Bible says, to everything there is a season. If I had went out and planted corn 2 months ago or a month ago in my area, it would have been frostbitten and died. So that's not how it's supposed to be. Sometimes we just have to be patient where we are in life. You know, I just had to wait till the weather warmed up. It may have felt warm. It may have been 80 degrees, which it was a month ago, 2 months ago, but I had to wait. I knew better. And maybe a lot of times that's just how it's supposed to be, that we need to just wait and be still where we are in life. We have so many projects going on here right now. You can see stuff's piled up over here, and we've been adding on and building and trying to secure what we have to keep these animals away from predators. And I thought, you know, these ducks that I've wanted, if I got those a year ago, just like I insisted on, well, then they probably wouldn't have made it a couple months ago when we lost most of our chickens that night. So, you know, now we've got a little bit more sense about it, a little bit more knowledge, and we waited until the time was right and when we could get ducks. It's the same thing with planting. You have to wait, and even though you're just so impatient, and there's a reason you're having to wait. That's the main thing, guys. There is a significant reason. The soil has to warm up, the weather has to cooperate, the land has to get right, and it's just not the season for planting where we are in January or February. It's just not the season for summer crops. Everything has a season. So you just have to prepare and get ready where you are while you're waiting. I wish I'd started my transplants a little bit earlier. I could have been doing that while I was waiting, but I didn't. That's another very valid key point. While you're having to wait on things to get ready, and if you're just in the gray area waiting on anything in life, prepare, get ready. A lot of people on here have told us we don't have land, so we can't homestead. Get ready where you are. Get ready. Get things prepared financially. Anything materialistically that you need to prepare, you can prepare right where you are at whatever point you're at. You do not have to be out like we are here out in the country. You don't have to be there to prepare. A lot of times we just rush things wanting to get to the finish line, but we don't want to have to run to get to the finish line. That's like my transplants. I know now I should have started those earlier. And one thing, last year I had a jungle inside of my living room, so I wanted to wait a little bit. Well, I should have just went on and dealt with too big of a plant. Then now we're a week out from planting and they're too little. So it's trial and error, and it's knowledge. I'm learning. It's trial by fire. You've just got to go out and do this stuff while you're waiting and learn. There's no book that can tell you, well, this year you've got to plant tomatoes on February the 15th. The next year it better be March the 15th. No one can tell you that. I mean, you don't know. You just got to prepare and do it and try. That's the main thing. Anywhere we are in life, you can prepare waiting. And I read the most awesome quote last night. It said, You know, Jesus was a carpenter for 30 years. That didn't mean, and he was by himself. To God, that was no different than him going out and performing acts like healing the blind man. Okay? Those 30 years were very significant while he was a carpenter. Just doing manual labor like regular folks. Okay? That was just, what he did during that time was preparing, and that was just as important as what he did in the end. And that's what we believe in, and we, you know, that's just our beliefs. And that really hit home with me last night. I thought, gosh, I've been missing the whole big picture here, because I'm my own worst enemy. I feel like, you know, a lot of times I'm not successful, or I can't do things right, so I beat myself up over it. Or if I'm a perfectionist. If I didn't do it right the first time, then I get all in a mess. And that is not, if you are homesteading, you're going to have to learn, hey, it's a gamble. Every which way you turn, every day is going to be different. Every scenario is going to be different. Every chicken's going to be different. Every cow's going to be different. Overall, as a group, they're about going to have the same characteristics and qualities and health problems, and not have certain health problems, but every situation is different. And homesteading is so educational, because that will teach you in life. Everything's different, but it's all kind of the same. And this is a good place to start learning that. Your plants, your corn, your crops, whatever, it may grow great this year, and you might know what to do next year for it. Doesn't mean it's going to produce. You know, you're learning. My father's always said knowledge is the most valuable possession. No one can take it from you, and no one can give it to you. You got to go get it yourself. And I'm just a huge promoter on education, and I've been putting out all of these videos for everybody to see about how to do stuff, because I'm learning and I want to teach you. Or what my husband does, and I want to show what he does to you that we found that works. But a lot of days I come out here and I say, well, there's nothing to video. And that's how the Chicken Scratch talk time started. There's not anything to video today. But maybe sometimes I can just talk to you, and that might be here in the waiting period of a project. You might learn more off this than you do off a DIY video. It may not get as many hits or likes or subscribers to it or whatever, but it may be valuable to somebody. And that right there is priceless, and it's worth any more views or whatever, more than any of that is priceless. If I can help you just bring something to your mind and talk to you. And I'm not the world's most eloquent, I know that, and my accent is Southern, I know that, but I can get the gist across to you. And the main thing is no job is too small. Every job counts, and while you're in between buying 30 acres and you don't have the money saved up yet, or haven't found the right land, you know, prepare. If you are homesteading, it doesn't have to be some spectacular project every day. Just maintaining all of this, hey, that's the hardest part, and that is a-okay. If you can maintain what you have and keep it up, and the key word, sustainability. That's what this is all about. It doesn't mean achievement and getting a huge goal done. It means sustaining and keep going, doing what you're doing, and keep it constant. That's what it's all about. I myself, I had to step back and say, look, I'm not doing all this big stuff every day, but I'm sustaining, and I'm learning, and I'm out here doing it. And it may not be anything new than yesterday, but the more I do it, the better I get at it, and the more I learn. That's what sustainability is about. And don't think that you're a failure just because you're out here for 30 years being a carpenter, because that right there is, you know what? That right there is where it counts, when the rubber meets the road, and it's not easy street. And you're doing anything in life, anything, not homesteading, forget that. When you're just maintaining and doing a good job and living your life and doing the best you can at whatever job you have, that right there counts just as much as when you go out and become a CEO or buy that land or buy all that cattle or buy all those chickens or buy all whatever. You know, that's kind of like, honestly, guys, it's like this. Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, however you celebrate it, we do Christmas Eve. I grew up with that. When the presents come, when you get to open those up, the excitement's over and it's done with. Really, the whole best time is sitting here especially that whole day. Every kid's excited the whole month of December, but that whole day waiting, the anticipation, and still doing what you're doing until the final moment. And then you have the final moment, and then it's over. And the more stuff we've gotten, just like the ducks, I enjoy those. But just the thrill and anticipation of wanting those ducks is gone. Now I have the ducks, and it's already like I'm on to something else. That's why you hear all this chicken math, and you know, people want more and more and more and more and more, because it's like the initial thrill of getting it, well, it's gone. And you know, it doesn't always have to be about that. Get something started and maintain it. I'm gonna have to take my own advice, just like these raised beds. You know, I've got several, and the DIY log raised bed that I showed you in the last video, I keep looking at it because it's behind me. That spot by that front porch, I sat on it for years. I wanted it to be an herb garden. I wanted it to be a flower bed. I wanted it to be just grass. I thought and thought and thought, and I never was just completely sold on what I wanted it to be. And I wasn't sure of myself. That's something else. While you're sitting here waiting, get sure of what you want. Think about it. Your thoughts and wants are going to change as time changes. And your capabilities and all that change as well. But I thought about it, and then when that tree fell, it's like it just clicked. And I said, that's what I want. I want to use those logs and use that as a border for a raised bed. I'm one of these that I have to go out and it's kind of like Lucy and Ricky, me and my husband. I just go do, and then he comes in the end and he'll straighten it all out. So I jump the gun, you know. I just want to go out and do stuff. And like I said, I got to take my own advice. But I'm so glad I waited and didn't plant a bunch of herbs there and didn't do but I kind of did. I planted 2 little rosemary bushes that I'd like to keep trimmed. And several years ago, I planted gladiolas. Well, I've got that on the border. I've got my rosemary. I've got the tree. It gets sunlight. I studied the place. I analyzed it. I saw where the sun hit. I looked at the drainage. I looked at the slope. Just going out there and looking at it every day, picking my banjo on the front porch. I'd watch it and think, I could plant some kind of vegetable here. I think a raised bed might work. It might, but I don't want to plant flowers in it. I want something else right here to grow and eat. And when all that happened, I just did it. And the buckets, that's the #1 thing that we have gotten from this channel, is the bucket gardening. And my husband didn't care for it because, let me tell you, I had probably 200 buckets. And we've got patios and it's, you know, but I said, that'll make him happy. This will make me happy. Let's just put the buckets up completely and let's do this and try it. You know what? I can go back and change it again. It doesn't matter. The whole point is I sat there and I waited and decided what I really wanted and kept working on other things and sustained myself, and then just did it, and we'll see how it does. While you're in the middle, while you're waiting, just like now, I'm waiting to plant these raised beds with my crops. I'm waiting to plant that pasture garden with my crops. My transplants are not doing that great. They're not dying, but they're not thriving. This weather has been wacko this year here in central Alabama. But I got to keep working on those transplants. I cannot get so focused on tilling up that ground when I don't even have anything to put in it yet. Don't put the cart before the horse. Just keep doing what you're doing to sustain yourself, because one thing that I promote fully outside of education is sustainability. And if you can sustain yourself in whatever situation you're in, then that's what it's about, and not having to depend on someone else. Learn how to do things your own way. And you'll be a better person for it. You'll have knowledge. And it feels so good to go out and do something on your own and have the skill and the know-how. Guys, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Sustainability and being self-sufficient. Doing it on your own. No one was born on this earth knowing how to do stuff on their own. They learned. Everybody goes through hard times. You're going to have ups and downs. But in the middle is the toughest. 30 years being a carpenter, okay? Think about that. 30 years being a carpenter doing manual labor. That's the toughest times. And if those acts that you're doing there are just as important as, something later on that is noteworthy. We never think of Jesus as being a carpenter, and no one goes and talks about that, and it's just like, ooh and ah. But for him to do that for that long and sustain and maintain, that right there, guys, that's where it counted. I think we all feel like carpenters right now, okay? And we need to keep at it and get the job done and do it to the best of your ability, because that's where it counts. Think about it. Let me know what you think. Keep going. We'll see you next time on Harmon Homestead.